All right, the purpose of this video is really to walk you through why I would make a swing change and then how we would go about that and what that would look like. So the video on the right is the before. I've drawn some lines that would be the impact plane. The camera did move a little bit. It was windy today. Keep in mind that this player did shoot 65 in his event on Sunday, which is a career low. Coming out of that event, his issues would be really just strong face pulls, pretty center contact, and then hitting it little low. So let's walk through the swing and kind of correlate why that would be. I'm not overly concerned with anything to this point. So it really would be a couple things. So one, I'm just going to pause it right here. So one would be the position of the lead arm would be a little bit steep. For what I would like to see as it correlates with potentially pulling it, because as someone gets a little bit high with the lead arm, it's not abnormal for this position right here to happen, where the club gets very, very laid off. Laid off would just mean that the club is pointing outside the ball. So there's going to have to be some steepening on the downswing. So what that will look like, you can kind of see as the shaft just starts to steepen more and more and more as we go. And the issue there is that this player wants to hit a high draw. And the real problem really is at this position here, this last parallel, where we see that the club head is pretty darn strong relative to where we'd want that. And the club head is also outside the hands. So let me clean this up a bit. And what we're going to see is the kind of the genesis of when this ball starts to go left. So you can see that ball comes out a little bit left as the main reason as to why. Good strike, center strike, but that's kind of the main problem. So when it comes to the solution, he and I discussed three things. So one is that the lead arm is going to need to be flatter. Okay, and so from this perspective, that's going to be basically parallel to this yellow line is kind of what he was thinking. This is very exaggerated as well. He was feeling like he was kind of swinging around his waist. And then secondly, we don't want to see the club be so laid off at the top. And so it's almost like feeling a little bit more across. Across would just mean pointed that way. You can see as it comes down, it doesn't have quite as much laid off. If I were to draw that line, you can see it's still a touch on the flat side, but not near as much. And then last thing would be feeling kind of the hands drop on the downswing, with the face feeling much, much weaker as we go. So if we were to isolate these two images, you can see that the face is much more up and down here versus being strong, like almost perpendicular to that plane line. So from this video on the left, the player is going to be able to swing out to the right a little bit more, and the ball's probably going to be more of a push out to the right. You can see where that start direction was. Now, granted, this was at, and I'm going to post some of this data too with it, this was at a much slower speed, but if you are changing your swing and you are doing some form work, you have to do things at a slower pace and demonstrate your ability to do it before adding speed. Is an absolute waste of time to do things full speed if you can't demonstrate the motion. So in summary of what he did, it was lead arm flatter, a little bit more draw, and weaker face. And I would also say if you are doing any form work and you can't do something like this, whether you're a player or a coach, if you can't show it or prove it, then it's not going to last. If this player were to leave with the club face looking like this, I can promise you he's going to continue to hit it left. So with him leaving looking like this, I'm fully confident that he's going to leave hitting high draws and get away from that low pull, which is really what he wants.